Hello again. I'm here with a book tag. Andrea in Bookland tagged me with the How I Read tag. First question, how do you find out about new books to read? Mostly from BookTube. I watch a lot of BookTube videos and get some opinions in different books I might not have heard about. I also sometimes follow the customer also bought these books. When you buy Amazon, that's another way I get books. I don't really follow Goodreads too much, so I don't really get them from Goodreads. I also like to follow an author back, so if I see an author that I like, sometimes I'll go back and I'll look at some of the other stuff that the author wrote. How did you get into reading? Well, I've answered this question a couple of times. Basically, my mother would leave me in the library and I just fell in love with books. I wanted to add a little story here, since this is a question I've got asked a lot. I wanted to add a little story I thought was cute that would give you a little bit more insight into, I guess, my reading. When I was very young, not even 3 years old, I think, my mother would read to me, and she would read The Night Before Christmas, and she would read it all the time. I don't remember this, but she said I loved The Night Before Christmas, and she always would read it to me. The Night Before Christmas picture book. So one day, my aunt babysat for me. And of course, she wanted to read me a book, so I pulled out The Night Before Christmas. And instead of her reading The Night Before Christmas to me, I read it to her. Now, I don't think I was able to read at 3, but I think basically what happened was I memorized what the words were with the pictures. So I would basically sit here and turn a page and go, The Night Before Christmas, and all through the house, not a creature was stirring, and because I knew the picture and the line that went with the picture. I'm guessing that's what it was. That's what my mother guesses that's what it was. But it looked like to my aunt that I knew how to read at 3. I thought that was a really interesting story about when did I get into reading. That was the first Paul Reed story time at 3 years old, where I just sat and actually read a story to my aunt. Well, let me get to the next question. How has your taste in books changed as you've gotten older? I don't even know if it's gotten older or BookTube. BookTube has changed a lot in what I read. I had phases. When I was growing up, I would go through phases. I would read, a bunch of horror books, or I would read a bunch of nonfiction. I used to get into the Civil War, and I read a whole bunch of Civil War books. I read a bunch of books on the presidents. I think I read about 20 presidential biographies. I've been into young adult. When Twilight came out, I read pretty much everything that was vampires. I read Twilight, I read House of Night, I read Vampire Academy, I read a lot. I read Anita Blake, I read, a bunch of vampire stuff. I was into a lot of urban fantasy. I would read a lot of Anne Rice. So I've always read this is something really cool that I'm interested in, and I would only read that. Since BookTube, though, I've kind of just started combining everything. And it's like, okay, I still like horror, I'm going to read horror. I still like YA, I'm going to read YA. I'm going to incorporate some nonfiction, I'm going to incorporate some other books. Really what's changed in my reading is not my age, it's really BookTube. BookTube has changed the way I read. And I like it. I really like exposing myself to a lot of different stories and a lot of different kinds of stories. And YA is way more diverse than when Twilight came out and it was all just vampires. It's way more diverse now, so you can really read a lot just in the YA. So that's basically the answer, I guess. I haven't really had a change in reading taste. It's just kind of a change of the way I read and the variety that I read. And that's more from BookTube than from actually age. Next question. How often do you buy books? All the time. In fact, I'm still trying to debate how I'm going to do my next book haul, because I got like a box of books. This book haul is... I might have to split it. It is a pretty big book haul. I am never going to, even how fast I read, I am never going to be able to read enough to catch up to the amount of books I just bought in April. I bought a ton, because I went to a bunch of used bookstores. I looked online, found a bunch of used bookstores around, and every time I'm going to a store, I pick up 1 or 2 books. I went on thrift books, picked up some other books, and I just kept buying. So I bought a lot of books, and I do pretty much buy every month. How did you get into booktubing? Booktube was something I kind of like to watch. I wasn't watching booktube for years like some people. I wasn't watching it for that long, I think, before I actually started doing videos on BookTube. Honestly, there is a book in my book haul, a YA book, that the first of this book, I could say it. The first book was Carve Them Off. I forgot the author's name, but she did the Divergent series. And I read the book, and I liked the book. And I said, let me go online and see what booktubers are talking about it. And man, they kind of ripped that book apart. And I was like, I like this book. So that was kind of like my first experience with BookTube. And then I kept watching it and learning all about the different kinds of books. And I wanted to do reviews. I was a little upset there wasn't as much reviews as I wanted. Of course, that's changed. I just really enjoyed the concept of just sitting and talking about books. It just felt like a really nice thing to do. And it felt like something I could do. And I thought about it and I started actually doing some reviews. And it just went from there. I am just totally happy with it. I mean, just watching BookTube, if you're a person right now, you're watching this channel and you're watching BookTube and you don't do BookTube videos, I always say to anybody new starting out, just do the videos, because the concept of watching videos and commenting on people that you like's videos is nothing compared to doing videos and having people comment about what you're talking about on videos, giving you recommendations, and it kind of eggs you on to read. I think it makes you a better reader. I mean, yeah, there's that competition thing, but I think it makes you a better reader. I think it enhances a lot of BookTube, just getting out there and doing a video. Once you start, it's like a drug. I think you're just hooked because it's so much fun to do. How do you react when you don't like the end of a book? When I don't like the end of a book, when I really don't like the end of a book, sometimes I'm really conflicted sometimes, because there have been books I have liked all the way up until the end, and then the end kind of ruins it for me, and I almost just want to like say, I hate this book. I really don't like this book. And then I have to sit there and think, I did like most of it. I just didn't like the last 10 pages, or I just didn't like the very end. And sometimes it could be minor, like, oh, well, this person didn't end up with this person that I liked, or something, something simple like that, or, oh, it didn't have a happy ending, which that can sometimes bother me, but not that much. I'm a horror reader, so mostly there's not that many happy endings in my stories. But if it's something I really don't like, and I really think, oh, this was like a misdirection, or this was like just a total cop-out of what I just read, I just really don't like the book. Like I said, it does destroy sometimes what I would consider a really high quality book, and then just kind of knock it down for me. Next question. How often do you take a sneak peek at the end of a book to see if there's a happy ending? Never. I don't like it. I don't believe in it. My wife does. She's done that with a couple of books I've seen her read. Not that she's read that much, but I've seen her do that. And I'm like, what are you doing? I don't like it. The only reason I go to the end of a book is to see how many pages it is. Most books, when I start reading them, and I don't know if this is what other people do, but most books, when I start reading them, I always go to the end of a book and just look at the page number. Because I just want to know how many pages are in this book when I start. So I have an idea of where the end point is. Have an idea like, oh, I'm about halfway done with the book because it's this many pages. And I usually try to keep that in my mind while I'm reading, that this is the end page. But otherwise, I never look at the end of a book as far as the actual story in there. I only look at what's the end page number, and that's it. And the last one is, who are you going to tag? I'm just going to tag everybody, because that's what I do. So if you enjoyed this video and you enjoyed this book tag, definitely do it. I think it's a nice book tag. I actually liked it. It was pretty fun to do. And that's my video. Thanks again for watching, and I hope to see you soon. Bye.